Coming up, the helmets that could save a racing driver's life. The finest tea on earth, plucked from the mountains of India. And one of the world's largest underfloor heating systems hidden beneath Warsaw, Poland. How do they do it? San Antonio Raceway, Texas. Setting for the largest drag race series in the US. Some of these cars reach over 500 kilometers an hour. For drivers, the difference between life and death could be a good racing helmet. So manufacturers make them from military-grade materials and test them to destruction. How do they do it? New Braunfels, Texas. Founded in 1959, Simpson Performance Products is one of the leading suppliers of safety belts, fire suits and super strong helmets for all kinds of motor racing. And they're the helmet of choice for dozens of Indy 500 drivers. Their unofficial motto is, it's not a case of if you crash, but when you crash.
There are some awesome helmets out there. One, you can hit the visor with a lead pellet fired at 500 kilometers per hour or 300 miles per hour and it won't break. You can throw it in the fire and it won't burn, and you can drive over it in a 55-ton tank and it won't smash.
It's engineer Sean Christian's job to ensure these racing helmets are almost indestructible.
Some of the drivers that wear our helmets go up to almost 330 miles an hour in less than 4 seconds flat. Anyone who puts on this helmet, it's their life at stake.
Each super strong helmet is built up from layers of military-grade composites inside a mold. The helmet must be strong, but also lightweight. Dragster drivers face forces of up to 5G. Normal gravity at sea level is 1G.
Increasing G-force increases the weight of things. 5G makes your helmet feel 5 times heavier. So if your helmet's heavy to start with, you're in trouble.
To keep the weight down while still protecting the driver's skull, they use a special tri-weave that combines carbon fibre, fiberglass and bulletproof Kevlar. It's built up in layers inside the mould, along with further layers of black carbon fibre and white fiberglass. The layers are strong, but they're flexible. To harden them up, they use a special polymer resin. Before the resin hardens, they must remove any air pockets. So they put the mould in a vacuum bag. A hose sucks out trapped air and compresses the layers together. Any slight air leak here jeopardizes the structural strength of the helmet. Silence. This woman's job is to listen for the hiss of a puncture. After curing for up to 1 hour under heat lamps, the resin has set, forming a super tough shell. But it's stuck inside the mould. If we said they smash it out with a hammer, you might think we'd had a bump to the head. But remarkably, it's true. A few choice strikes and the mould drops away, leaving the helmet inside unscathed. Then it's straight into another mould to drill holes where the visor will be attached. The helmet currently has rough edges, but it needs to be super smooth. So imperfections and ridges are sanded and smoothed away before it's ready for painting. A coat of primer and a coat of paint, and it's starting to look the part. The problem now is it's too hard. It needs some cushioning inside. So they fit a 30mm thick liner made from expanded polystyrene foam. This padding could buy enough time to save a racer's life. In a crash, if the foam lining slows the head down by just 10 milliseconds, the force of the impact decreases tenfold.
A good helmet will cut the impact on your head from 5 tons to about a half a ton, which is the difference between being stuck under an elephant and being stuck under a horse. Neither is good, but I know which one is worse.
A strong, shock-absorbing helmet is all well and good, but if it comes off in a crash, it's not much use. So a chin strap is secured by metal screws on either side of the helmet. And cheek pads and top pads are glued into place to add extra protection. With the visor screwed in place and dust blasted out with compressed air, the helmet is complete. It takes 8 hours to make each helmet, but every few months, one lucky sample is chosen for a tortuous series of safety tests. Drawing on data from decades of previous test results, they mark out the 10 most vulnerable areas on the helmet.
If we don't get these test lines right, basically someone's life would be at stake.
Today, the helmet will be put under a G-force drop test, where it will be raised up to a height of 4 meters and dropped onto a metal anvil, reaching a speed of 8.85 meters per second. That's 32 kilometers an hour.
Dropping something might seem like uncontrolled testing, but it's actually very accurate because gravity accelerates everything at the same rate. So, as long as you know how far something has fallen, taking into account wind resistance, then you'll know the speed it's traveling when it hits the ground.
If you were to be on a motorcycle, leaning forward with your head straight out and driving into a concrete wall, that's essentially what we're creating with this drop.
X marks the spot of collision. Once strapped in and lifted up, the only way is down. The shell spreads the impact force over a wider area. The brake indicates that the shell and the lining inside has taken the brunt of the collision, as opposed to a driver's skull. The helmet passes the test.
When you go down to the racetrack and you see the drivers themselves wearing Simpson helmets, and then you see how fast they go, it puts everything into perspective that what we're doing here is extremely serious and there's no room for error.